Esther, A Musical Adventure, Part 2. Last time we met the main characters in the story of Esther.
We have Esther, the Jewish orphan who became queen.
We have her cousin Mordecai, who, in the musical, is kind of like a spy.
We have King Xerxes, who loves doing magic, but he doesn't really know what's going on in his own kingdom.
We have the evil Haman who manipulates the king. You know, like a puppet.
And we have God, who's doing something big behind the scenes.
So now that we know the characters, what happens in the story?
So, at the beginning of Esther, we have two different things going on.
First, we have Mordecai, the spy that he is, who is hanging around the city gate one day and overhears these two guards plotting to kill King Xerxes.
The Book of Esther doesn't actually say why these two guards want Xerxes dead, but they were angry with him about something.
Maybe he stole their iPhones.
Funny thing they could be mad about.
So, Mordecai tells Esther about this plot and asks her to warn the king.
I'm guessing Esther still wasn't a big fan of King Xerxes, but in the musical, Mordecai convinces her that warning the king is the right thing to do. So she tells him.
And the king is furious. I mean, I guess I can't blame him. He hired these guards to protect him, not kill him. So the king ends up arresting the guards and having them executed. He does not mess around.
So, King Xerxes' life gets saved because of Mordecai. And that will become very important later. So, keep that in the back of your mind and don't forget it.
But there's a second thing going on. Haman gets mad at Mordecai because Mordecai won't bow to him.
The Bible doesn't give a reason for why Mordecai won't bow to Haman, but a lot of people think that it's because Haman was an Amalekite, and the Jews and the Amalekites had been enemies for a long time.
Oh, it drove Haman crazy that Mordecai wouldn't bow to him.
You gotta think, Haman's whole thing was that he loved power. He loved being the king's right-hand man. So when Mordecai wouldn't bow, Haman was livid.
And the sad part is, Haman used that anger as an excuse to get revenge.
He decides to not just kill Mordecai, but all the Jews. He comes up with a plan to trick the king into signing a terrible decree, and that's what the song Bad News Buddy is about.
In the Bible, Haman basically says to the king,
"These people do not obey your law."
but he was lying. So, when Marco and I wrote the song Bad News Buddy, we tried to build off of that idea that Haman is trying to put a picture in the king's head about all of this bad stuff the Jewish people will do.
Just imagine all the kingdom infested with people not like our own. Just imagine all the streets congested, and soon they'll come for your throne.
Haman gives all these reasons why the Jewish people need to be destroyed. And of course, none of them are true.
It's gonna be bad news, buddy, if we don't do something now. It's gonna be bad news, buddy, if we don't get them out of town. Oh, these people are different. They're dangerous. They don't respect you. They're so heinous. We gotta act now, and I know how. And if we don't, it's gonna be bad news, buddy.
But King Xerxes believes Haman and signs the decree. It's kind of scary how fast the king signs it without even reading what the decree says, but we all do this to some extent, right? And clicking the yes, I agree boxes online. I mean, do you actually read your cell phone contracts?
Hey Marco, I have an idea for our next musical. He hung up.
It's interesting how Haman uses fear to manipulate Xerxes. But that's something that still happens today. I mean, fear has a way of dividing people, and Haman knew that.
And of course, Mordecai finds out about the decree to kill the Jews, and he's convinced the only person who can talk the king out of it is Esther. So he goes to see her.
This song Something's Going On Here is the back and forth between Esther and Mordecai.
Wait, Mordecai? What are you doing here?
Well, I just came to say High five, glad your hubby is still alive, but it's our people who might not survive. You know the guy Haman, he's not very tame, and he's got a plan to kill all of the Jews. And I feel like something's going on here, but I don't know what it is yet.
No, Haman can't just kill all the Jews.
Mordecai's like, you gotta go talk to the king and get him to save our people.
And Esther's like, yeah, well, if I go see the king and he's in a bad mood, he could have me killed. So I'm not sure I would want to do that.
My favorite thing about that song, Something's Going On Here, is we never mention God anywhere in that song, but you get the sense that he's working behind the scenes.
I think even though Mordecai doesn't come right out and say it, he has this feeling that God is doing something big, and he's encouraging Esther to be a part of it.
He doesn't want her to miss out on the reason God may have made her queen. He keeps saying, something's going on here, and it's time to take a step.
Esther gets a little more frustrated with Mordecai because it's like, well, this is easy for you to say because there's no risk for you. It's my life that's on the line here, buddy.
So if I talk to the king,
So you'll go?
I said if I go, we are gonna need a plan.
I guess it does seem kind of easy for Mordecai to ask Esther to do something when he's not the one taking the risk. I think it shows that other people can sometimes see our potential better than we can. Mordecai was confident that God was doing something through Esther. Sometimes we need other people to encourage us to take action.
Oh snap, what's the plan?
Just give me a minute.
What's the plan?
Yeah, that might work.
What's the plan?
Just listen.
And so Esther says, okay, I'm not really happy about this, but I'll do it. I'll talk to the king. And she tells Mordecai to gather all the Jews in Persia and have them fast for 3 days. That means to go without food. Nothing. Zilch. No cookies.
When fasting is mentioned in the Bible, it usually goes together with prayer.
I think that's cool because even though there's no mention of God in the book of Esther, you see this action God's people take to connect with him.
Yeah, they prayed and fasted for 3 days. Nothing to eat, yeah, for 3 days. So go and talk to all the Jews in the town. Gather them around and give them the message from the girl who wears the crown. And after we get to day 3, then I'll go and talk to the king.
And Act 1 of the musical ends with Esther deciding to go see the king. How does it go? We won't know until Act 2. So as they say on Broadway, it's intermission. Stay tuned for some family discussion questions coming up and go get some snacks.
But I will go